thing here. Good evening. We are going to call this meeting to order. And the first order of business is adoption of the agenda. Are there any consent agenda items that a board member would like to have discussed as an action item? All right. Do I have a motion that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda?
I move that the governing board adopt the meeting agenda.
And a second?
I second.
Oh, I wonder who's going to second. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
We can't hear who. Lupe. No discussion is in order, so we're going to call for a study session. We got everybody here today, in one form or other. We're going to have a study session, and the study session is for policy reviews. We're going to review the policies D, E, and F. Hold on to your seats. This is going to be very exciting, folks. And we have lots of them to review. Our audience, thank you for being here. And we're going to start right in with DBCR. My understanding, clarify this for me, Dana, if you would. When it has an R after it, that means it's a regulation that refers to the policy.
Correct.
And when it has an E after it, that means that it's an exhibit that relates to the policy.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. So the first one is DBC-R, Budget Planning, Preparation, and Schedules. Dana, you are on.
All right, let me have to get into a different
I can't even get in.
folder. DBCR. I need 3 laptops. It's basically just language. And they're adding quite a bit of things that we actually have always been doing.
Okay, I need help. Anna, something went crazy here. It froze. Okay, I'm sorry, Dana. I want to open this. Just did the same thing. It doesn't like me. All right, go ahead.
So this particular policy, it was with many of these, we already have been doing all these things as practice. This is just adding it in per ASBA as language.
Thank you. That was actually one of my questions I meant to start out with. It seems like a lot of these are things that we have done by practice, but have not necessarily done per policy. So now we're putting our practices into our policy manual.
Correct.
Would that be a general overstatement? Okay.
Correct. And this, we also changed the language in the very first sentence of this. We no longer have an assistant superintendent for business services, so we called it, we just changed the name to align with what our practice is here in Alhambra.
Okay. Thank you. This is the one that talks about publishing it, publishing the budget. And I assume we put that, by publishing, we put that on our website?
Correct.
Okay. Moving on.
DDE, an exhibit new to Alhambra. It's basically a resolution. It's funny that they put it that way, but that's how ASBA has it. We already do all these things again.
I share with you because mine isn't going to work. It doesn't want to do anything.
You guys can jump right in if I'm misspeaking on it.
This is-
Good. Scott's giving me the thumbs up so far.
Talks about federal funding, isn't it?
Yes.
Correct, Title I.
And making sure that we are funds, making sure that we're using the funds appropriately, right?
Correct.
Okay. And so my comment on this was, we have always done this, but we just have not had it in policy.
Correct.
Okay. We're having a big switcheroo here. Okay. All right, moving on to
Moving on.
DDA.
EDA, this was another one that was missing from policy, from our policy manual. We do all this again.
Good, we want to accept gifts and grants.
We do.
So let's have it in policy that we can do that. Good. And then DFB.
I'm sorry, I have a quick question on DD8. So it says in that superintendent shall establish guidelines for processing to the board for approval. Have those guidelines been established already?
Yes.
So they're already in place?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And this would be a good time to mention, when the word "the superintendent" appears in any of these policies from ASBA, any particular alphabet, anything, it doesn't necessarily mean exactly that the superintendent is the only one. The superintendent has the ability to designate any of her cabinet members or whomever she feels is an administrative level to help her to support with these things. So that's just kind of a blanket practice within the policies that ASBA presents. So,
Okay.
but yes, we've been doing these
Right.
all along.
I apologize, just raise your hand or yell out when you want to ask a question, okay? So the next one is DFB,
Also missing.
and this one really amazed me, and this is the one that I called for help on, because I've never been in a school district that didn't have some way of dealing with the Civic Center Fund. And so thank you for showing me that we do actually have that. Just never had a policy about putting the money in there. So, thank you. Any questions? Okay. Where are we? DFD.
DFD, also missing.
And one that I wasn't really, this was another one I called about because I didn't think we ever charged admission to go to anything like I never got charged when I went to a soccer game. And this one talks about gate receipts and admissions. So Dana, you want to talk about that?
This one, even though it doesn't specifically state that, this one you could take out of here because certainly high school level does do this, and they have to have this in practice and in policy. We don't. I don't know, and Scott and Dan can jump in if they know the answer. I don't know that there would be anything that says we couldn't do this if we wanted to. So it's just a good idea to have this in case we need it.
And
I
I
have a
would
quick
say it's
question.
more so about even just the proper documentation, because we are responsible for any time we're collecting money, making sure that we're issuing a receipt and just certain steps that we have to follow.
Correct.
I have a quick question.
Okay, so moving on.
Hello.
while this thing churns. DFF. Were there any questions on the gifts and on the gate receipts?
Also
Can anybody
missing,
hear
yeah.
me?
And this one talks specifically about income from school sales and services. And is this the one that talks about marketing as well?
Yes,
And so that, I assume, is if we have signs on our school buses advertising for Coca-Cola or something like that? Okay.
correct.
And to the best of my knowledge, we don't do that, but you never know when we might want to. So we're,
Or need to.
the way the budget goes, might be a good thing. Anna, can you come and get this working, please?
Hello, can anyone hear me?
But I'm still nowhere here. Then let's go to DG, which is the auxiliary accounts.
This was just language.
Okay. And this is just clarifying our banking services and how we monitor them.
Correct.
And so does this also contain, does this include things like student council? Is that under this DG banking services? I can't see it, so I don't know.
I don't see anything for students.
It doesn't,
The one about deposits.
correct, about deposits. And this is the one I explained, we, deposit daily, and
Right.
they bring the money that they collect out of their student council. They have a practice, a way that they do that. It's all, followed, and they bring everything to the business office.
And PTO accounts are separate from that. If it's a parent account, they run their own bank account for that, right? Thank you. Any questions, anybody?
Yes, I had a question.
Now we're
Hello?
at DGD.
Nope, they can't hear me.
DGA,
Oh, DGA.
also missing.
Goodness gracious, we need to do more.
But we've
Hello.
done this for forever, I'm going to guess, So,
Oh, this is the one where we can,
2 signatures.
okay, yeah, that's always safe, have 2 signatures. Okay, so now we're going to DGD.
DGD, language.
This has to do with credit cards and the way the credit cards are used in the district. And it's good to know that we have a policy on how we use credit cards.
Yes, and you had asked about what the difference was between a credit card and a procurement card. They're basically the same thing.
Okay, thank you for reminding me what I asked. And then we're to DIB.
DGD.
No, GDD. Yeah, DGD.
Yes.
Credit, and so there's a bunch of them there. There's the regulation.
A regulation and an exhibit.
Okay. Any questions about those?
No.
It seems to me like those are common practices that we should have as an organization as far as controlling our credit cards. Okay, now we're ready for DIB.
DIB.
And these are the revolving funds.
Correct.
So
Auxiliary and,
so can you kind of summarize that for us a little bit, Dana?
I would not be able to. I'm sure that one of these gentlemen could.
Kind of a little summary of what the revolving funds are?
Hello, can you hear me?
Vice President Teocampo, members of the board, thank you for your question.
Oh, geez, you remembered I'm a vice president.
I know,
I went
we're
home
quick
and-
learners.
After the last meeting, I went home and told my husband I need a new T-shirt that had DD on it. He
Had to
didn't
convince
approve.
him that you actually have the title. So the revolving fund is a fund of $5,000 that the board approves every year that it's established. That is a checking account in a Wells Fargo account that we use in case there are immediate needs that the district has that we can't wait for a check through our normal accounts payable process. Or if we need to reimburse someone for an expense that occurred, like they went to a conference and they simply had, it was an in-town conference, but they had a parking fee and we want to reimburse them quickly for a parking fee. We can do all those things quickly, pretty quickly now that we're a accounting responsibility district. We write our own checks as well, but the revolving fund is an account of $5,000 that we write checks out of to make reimbursements, and then we complete purchase orders through accounts payable to reimburse that account to make it $5,000 again.
Okay, so we keep it at 5,000.
Yes, we do. And the
Thank
Child
you.
Nutrition Department has one that's 500, so theirs is smaller.
Thank you for that explanation. Any questions?
And I wanted to note, too, that all of the policies that we're adding are in the Uniform System of Financial Records, and we had a previous policy, actually, that said we would follow everything in the Uniform System of Financial Records. So I think it's good that we're clarifying them specifically now, but we were following all these things because they're in the USFR, and we had to do them by state statute and regulation. So I just wanted to throw that in as well.
Thanks for saying that. because I was kind of amazed that we didn't have policies for a lot of these things.
We had credit card policy. I think they're just more specific now, a lot of them. Some of these policies were, some of the language is in there, as Dana has been noting, though. Some were not in there because they're in the Uniform System of Financial Records, and we just had a blanket policy that said we'd follow everything in the Uniform System of Financial Records, which is what we get audited on annually by our outside auditors from Heinfeld Meach.
Christian and Lupe, if you have any reason to chime in, please do.
Can you hear
Thank
me?
you for that, Scott. We're now to,
Can I interrupt for just one second?
Sure.
They cannot, Lupe, and I don't know about Christian, but he texted and said he wanted to know if we could hear him, and I said no.
okay.
But we can't hear him.
Testing,
So
testing.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Sorry, we
Testing,
can't hear you, Lupe.
testing.
It's just not in the room.
it's not in the room.
Okay, I don't hear
Hello.
him.
Okay,
Hi.
Okay, DIC, financial reports and state. And this is a change per House bill. And this one talks about, we have to display the information on the district website.
which we do.
So it's just
It's just language,
ratifying it, putting it in there.
correct.
DICA is the budget format. And that's, again,
Kind of the same thing.
yes, I can remember in the day we used to publish it in the newspapers, but as I said, I'm the only person on my block that gets a newspaper, so. So it's good that we've spelled that out, that we do it in a different format now. Not a different format, a different way of advertising it. Christian or Lupe, anybody questions?
Can you hear me?
Okay, DID and DIDR. These relate to inventories?
Which I'm sure we've, again, been doing, as Mr. Huesman mentioned, specified by USFR, we follow USFR. So this is just adding the language in that we did not have.
And it's fairly explicit. I was wondering if we currently have somebody that manages that inventory, or do we have to create a job? No, we currently have somebody that does that for us, and is it the size of our district? That's a fairly extensive task to keep track of our inventory.
We do have someone, they work out of the business office, so we do.
Thank you. And DIDR is just further explanation for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, DIER. And this
I
one,
think it's appropriate that the audit statute is DIE.
dire.
This
Good
is
point.
one
Thank
that I
you for
had
bringing that
questions
up.
on, if you can hear me.
And again, I'm assuming, I know that because you give us the annual reports from the audit, and we always do very well. We get glowing results from that. So that was my question, if we needed to look at creating another position for this as well, or if we're covered by the accountants that we currently use, the companies, the organizations we use.
Yeah, this was a language update based on Arizona revised statute.
Okay.
I have a question about this
Um,
policy, if anybody can hear me.
DKE, payment procedures.
Also missing, this was just missing,
Oh,
we do this every month, so,
the one we sign between, somebody can sign between board meetings.
correct.
Okay, yeah, we've been doing that. So, and again, just bringing us up to date. Is there anybody else that has, somebody have? Oh, well, you're going to have to tell us this question then.
Yeah, that is.
Because you're the only one who can hear him.
Yeah.
Sorry, Lupe.
So my question on D,
You want to just tell him, he can tell me the question and I'll.
Yeah, Lupe, just
I-
just tell us your question. And
okay, so my
we're
question
going to get it
on,
repeated so we can all hear it.
my question was on DFD first, and does that apply to the fall and winter festivals and the carnivals that our sites have?
So his question is on DFD, first, the fall and winter carnivals. Does it impact those, correct, Lube?
Yes.
What, do we charge for those?
Do we charge for the fall and winter carnivals?
It-
I think those are student council events, Lupe.
They are student council events,
The revenues from that would go into the student council.
correct.
And the same thing would be true of like when they have their ice cream sales or
Correct.
your Piper Pizza events. Or clubs for,
Thank you for the clarification.
Okay, are
And
you
then my
good with
other
that?
question was on DIER and just emphasizing that I like the practice of doing annual audits. But I do see that the policy says federal could be biennial, but just emphasizing that I like the annual audit process that we currently have.
thank you, I would agree to that. If you let it go for 2 years, it gets to be kind of out of hands.
The practice,
Good to stay up with it.
yeah, the practice in our district is it's done yearly, so there may be other districts that don't. I have no idea, but not ours.
None of them I've ever been with.
Does that mean you can hear me?
Yes.
We can now.
Can hear you.
All right,
You've
thank
got
you.
a voice. We now can hear you.
Now I'll be
Welcome
quiet.
welcome to, however, I still don't have a computer that works.
No,
No, we don't want to see him, we want to hear him. Yeah, I think he's in Washington DC. DN, school properties disposition.
this was a change to an Arizona revised statute.
And it looks like we took a bunch of stuff out, consolidated it,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives us the opportunity to sell to charter schools or other private schools.
If you want to know how old this is, it says items such as typewriters
I caught that.
sold.
It's old. Yeah. Do we have any of those?
Typewriter out in my storage room, I dig deep. Probably 3 layers down. Okay, any questions on that one?
I have a question. In the section where it says competitive sealed bidding, I'm just curious on the description advantageous. So it reads, if the district determines that the bid is not advantageous to the district may reject the bid in whole or in part and may resolicit bids, or the district may negotiate the sale provided, and it goes on more. But I was curious about advantageous and kind of what that means for the district, or if maybe I'm reading into it differently.
Good evening, Vice President De Ocampo. Double points there. I was actually ahead at first, so I gave him the idea. And governing board members, Dr. Maez. The way I see that, mostly the best example would be a reserve on an auction. If you want to take a bus that you want to dispose of, but at least get $5,000, you can take it. If the bidding price is only $3,000, then we don't have to sell because we had the reserve price in there. It was not advantageous for us to sell for $3,000. That would be an example I can come up with for that.
My experience with this in the past is kind of put together big lots of things and sell it, like used textbooks, furniture that we no longer need, and we're going to be having a lot of new furniture, so, but they usually put it in a lot, and somebody bids on the whole.
Right, and yes,
Whole
so
piece.
generally we are, disposal, as you can see, is a process, so generally you look for a way to dispose. So when you make that decision, the advantageous part is sometimes just getting rid of the item.
Yeah, because we don't want to have to store it.
So to I guess to just double check where I'm thinking on this is, does this apply to just the materials and equipment, or does this also apply to the sale and lease portion or property as well?
I believe this is just inventory items, yeah. Well, and so you're bound by appraised value if you're going to do land and property in that sense, but with disposal, you generally are thinking of inventory and stewardship items.
Thank you.
Yeah, correct. I think this particular one is mostly relating to actual physical items, not necessarily a piece of land.
Oh, right, this is not property like land, property,
Property like, yeah,
books and desks and chairs, and typewriters.
and typewriters.
Thank you for your question. All right, moving on. We're finally getting to the E policies, which, hold on, because F is really short. We went through the longest one so far. E. First one is EBCD,
Brand new.
and one that's important to have because we never know when there's going to be an emergency, or either due to weather or other causes. Are there any questions about this? Again, I'm amazed that we never had this. I'm probably one of the only people that remembers in 1980 when we were flooded and we had to close schools because nobody could get across the Salt River because the trains all stopped. But there have been other incidences, as maybe you don't know. If the electricity or the water can't get to a school for a specified period of time, we have to either move the students to another school or close down the school. And so those are all reasons why it's important that we have this policy. Any questions? Okay. AESD, oh, wait a minute, ECAR. This is the security. Any words of wisdom on this one? Any question anybody has?
Just a quick question of clarification for this. I know that we changed a lot of our safety policies, especially with the doors and the locks, and at some schools the doors are locked from the outside in order to increase safety. Has our safety plan and this policy, do they have basically the same idea?
Is there anyone that can answer that?
I would think that that would be a great question for during Mr. Rivera's portion of the meeting later on, his presentation on safety. I think he would be better qualified to answer that question.
I think that's right. Lupe, can you wait for Mr. Rivera's presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to EDC. Wait a minute, did I miss one in here?
No.
ECA was the keys, and that's the one where the superintendent has the keys,
Well, she has
along with other.
the key.
Okay, so EDC is the rentals. And
Rental fees, and it's what you referred to before, the Civic Center Fund.
yeah, that's another clarification.
Mm-hmm.
EDCR is one that regulation is going to be moved. And
Recommend to archive this per ASBA.
and are these the two that are related to technology?
They're related to a G policy, G, section G.
And so it's handled under G. We no longer need it in this.
Correct.
If I remember right, it has to do with the use of technology.
Technology, basically.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time we updated that for sure. Okay, any questions on that? EEAA. This talks about who we can provide transportation for. I got excited because I thought, wow, now we can drive a bus over into our neighboring district and bring students over. But then I read it again and it says school attendance boundaries. So no, we cannot be going over to somebody else's district. Not that I want to propose start doing that, but I think it's clear this is strictly school attendance areas. Any questions about this? The only question I had about it was, how does this relate? This does not prohibit us from, actually, it opens it up so that we can transport students to our specialty schools, right? Okay,
Correct, which we do.
which we do already.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on that?
No.
Thank you. And we are moving now to wait a minute, did I lose track here? EEAF. And this is the one that relates to using the buses for field trips.
Yes.
There's a statement in there about if it's for a that if it's used for something, I can't remember what it says. There's a way to-
Non-curricular?
It's brand new.
But it's something where they have to reimburse us.
Yeah, that, non-curricular usage.
And so if you're going to, if we're transporting a team to a school for a soccer game, soccer is considered curricular? I mean, in my mind, it would be. Does anybody know?
We fund that through the district, but for example, a school may request a special field trip, and our transportation department has a system where they would determine the cost for that field trip, and so then the school would then receive an invoice and pay that.
Correct. A good example of that would be if they go to, I can't remember the name of the, in Tucson.
The biosphere.
The biosphere. There's a process for that. They have to apply to go on a field trip. It's out of the county, number one. And then they have to, if they need to use our transportation, district transportation, there's a process for that, and how much will the bus cost, things like that. So there is a process. We do follow a process.
And I was sure that we did. Is each school allotted a certain amount of money for field trips? Is that the way it works?
Correct.
Okay, okay. Any questions about that?
I have some questions, comments. Thank you for asking those questions, Gartha. I wanted to ask regarding, is it more so the school site leaders who are involved in what that reimbursement looks like, or are student organizations asked to kind of fundraise or create some funds to go to these special trips?
I want to clarify that this is, again, the policy, I know we're doing some work separate in regards to field trips and how to increase field trips and all that, and that's not in relationship to this policy. Speaking specifically to the policy, this just states that, again, we will have procedures for being able to request. And so, yes, for example, a PTO or a booster might want to fund a field trip. I know some of our schools have events, like I know the other day I saw kids going to grade skate, for example, and so it was a fun type of event where that it might be an outside type where PTO is paying for that. But then separately, like I said, separate from the policy, we are trying to increase and establish ways in which we can increase and have more consistent field trips throughout the district.
Great, thanks for that answer. Christian, Lupe, any questions? Okay, moving on. EEAG, student transportation in private vehicles. And this is an update of the language.
Correct.
Do we often transport students in private vehicles?
We do.
Okay. Okay, and give me an example of when we would do that.
One example in which we do that is for McKinney-Vento, for example.
Oh, okay.
We have kids who, maybe a family who's moved 30 miles from here. And it's just a couple of kids. So you wouldn't want to use a whole school bus to transport just a few kids, or even one child who's now qualifies under McKinney-Vento, and we want to keep them, or even in the foster system, for example. And so we want to keep those kids. But we might now be transporting them 30 miles, and so then we would contract services to do that instead of provide a bus transportation.
So by private, so when I read this, I was thinking private vehicle. I thought that meant the principal was transporting this child 30 miles.
And that is, and so with private vehicle, so separately from private vehicles, yes, that's.
That could happen.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, if I could add to the conversation, I know that in terms of absenteeism and how we're trying to increase students going to school, I've heard stories of some principals going and picking up kids who are late or miss the bus. So that's a great example of this policy. And also it says the regulation. So do we have a district-wide regulation on that on that absenteeism tactic that we use?
I think you're asking if we have something that we're doing to support students coming to school, not necessarily how we transport them. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you.
I think that Melissa Gonzalez, who is heading up with support from other members of the admin team, would be able to answer that question as to what we're doing to increase attendance.
But it really doesn't relate to this,
It does not.
to what the discussion on hand of the policy that we're discussing. So you want to bring it
Okay,
up
thank
later?
you.
You want to bring it up later, Lupe?
No, thank you.
And did we do EEAGR, the regulation? No. And that's an update of the language that goes along with the policy that we just talked about.
Correct.
And in here, it specifies that if you're using your private vehicle, the district has to have updated copies of your insurance, so that if you're using your private vehicle, we know that you have insurance on your vehicle. Very smart. Okay, EEB. I don't remember what that was about. Oh, I think that's personal, isn't that personnel transportation? That's using your private vehicle again?
Yes, but it also is eliminating language where it had included governing board members, and it's stricken all of that. We're not asking governing board members to transport our students.
So Melissa isn't including us in going out and picking up students that are,
Yeah, you're
We're off the hook.
off the hook. Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds a little bit outside of our duties.
outside of our duties. Do we have any kind of reimbursement for mileage for these people that are transporting students in private vehicles?
We do.
Okay. But we don't have it's not in policy.
Actually, I think that there probably is one later on
Probably in G,
in a G policy,
probably in G policies. Yeah,
mileage reimbursement.
probably in Gs, you're right. So now E,
I have a question, sorry, you're fine. I was just going to ask about if the district has or uses an incident report for any accidents, like any reporting. And similar to the key lost, I didn't ask it earlier for ECA, but for like someone who loses a key, an incident report.
We do have a process for both of those.
it actually was in the one on the keys that they had to pay for them if they lost them.
Especially the important one.
Especially. So where are we? EEBD, did we do that one?
Nope, that's the last one. It's brand new.
And it is EEBD. Thank you for being my computer operator. And it's the one that's mandating keeping records or something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, which we do.
But we just never had a policy for it.
No, but
Now we do.
we did it, so.
We did it. That's good. Nothing new on our plate. I have two more e-policies. Ben, because they're to be, yes, but I think we should note that EGE, the Office Service Records and Reports, that we're deleting that policy, and that is per ASBA,
Yes, that is per,
because when we keep those records and reports somewhere else.
let me look at it. Yes, we do. If you looked in our, looked up in ASBA and looked up this policy, what you would see is refer to policy EHB.
Okay.
So it lives in EHB.
It's just,
So this is just,
we didn't need it in two places.
don't need it in two places.
Perfect, thank you. And EHAA is again a duplicate. We have it in another policy.
Ooh, so we do. It's going to be in a G policy.
And do people understand that G policies are ones that relate personnel and personnel issues?
I believe so. I mean, it's pretty common. And if you go in there, it does, the title of it is personnel.
Dana, once again, we've got one left.
I have one left.
One left until the next marathon.
Yeah, that one.
F policies, FF, naming of facilities.
This policy is brand new. When you can't see the original that was brought to us from ASBA, because as a cabinet and with the direction of cabinet, we didn't like the way that the language in that one read. And so the very first paragraph is actually from that original language. And then we actually added some things. The whole part on memorials, we added. What the cabinet asked me to do on this particular policy was to look at some policies from other districts and to see how they handled the naming of things. One of the things that we removed from ASBA's recommendation was that they had a paragraph in here that recommended that you not name any buildings after anyone unless they had been deceased for more than 10 years. Well, we already have buildings that are named after people that are still living, so we didn't think that was appropriate. So we completely took that out. And we did leave we put in the part with memorials. We thought as a cabinet that was a very nice option for us to do for a cafeteria, a gymnasium, a library. So we put that in. The only other part that stayed, the changing schools and names of facilities, that also came from ASBA. So we left that there. So that's where this policy comes from.
Thank you. Do any of you have any questions? I always seem to be taking over the floor here. No?
Sorry.
Go for it.
So I was just thinking, and I read the first paragraph, and it does, say derived from significant geographic locations and historical events. I'm just curious on the history, and I don't think it's an answer we can have right now or a discussion, but just curious on the history of all the names we've had in the past. And it seems like they're very, rooted in Spanish or Spain. But then also, ways we can go above and beyond and also acknowledge our indigenous roots or indigenous spaces. So not sure if, again, this is a discussion period right now, but just that was my thoughts when I was reading this policy.
Thank you. Anybody else? I appreciate the latter part where it talks about including the community in decisions for name changes. We have a school that the name was changed, and I happen to live in that community, and I happen to have gotten a lot of heat because nobody was asked if neighbors wanted to change the name of that school. It just all of a sudden was changed. And so I appreciate that now the policy is, in fact, that the community members will be asked to chime in on that as well. And then, yes, in my experience, it is pretty common that they have that, that the school be named after someone that was deceased. But as you said, we already have schools that are named after people that are still with us.
They're still with us.
Thank goodness they're still with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that was something that we, the cabinet took into consideration, the including community input into those decisions. So that was very important.
Thank you for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions on the F policy? Anybody else? Christian, Lupe? All right. We are done. We are going to reconvene our meeting at 6 o'clock. Do we have to wait till 6 o'clock? I guess we do.
We do.
Because it's posted at 6, we have to wait. Okay, it's a 10-minute break here. We can go out and do laps of the parking lot. All right, see you back here in 10 minutes, and don't be late. Thank you. Thank you. We are delighted this evening to have a holiday musical presentation by Mr. Witt's band from Granada East. They were hiding behind that door through the whole first part of the meeting, and we never even knew. They were quiet as mice. So we are now ready to hear your wonderful presentation. Oh, excuse me, I forgot, we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Give us one more minute. And Matt, our official reindeer, is going to do. All right, whenever you are ready, Mr. Witt.
Board, thank you for giving us the opportunity to play for you. And parents, thank you for being here. All right. We're going to play a little thing called Christmas March. Now, this is a mashup of different Christmas tunes. We have Oh, Come All Ye Faithful, Up on the Housetop, Jingle Bells, and various other songs that you might be able. What is it? Why can't I think? Oh, Come All Ye May. What was it? Or Good King Wenceslas is in there. Well, you'll figure it out. Okay. Here we go. All right, thanks.
Take a bow. They did a wonderful job. Oh, we're up for it. One more. Fast or slow? No, we thank you. How exciting to have you here. You exemplify our statement about teaching to the whole child. I am very proud of the fact that this community supports sports, arts, and academics. So thank you for coming out and sharing your expertise with us this evening. We were delighted to have you. And we would be very happy if you would sit down for a few seconds, because we have one more presentation that we would like to have you sit for, and then we will give you a short break. Thank you. Melissa Gonzalez, Ms. Gonzalez, and Mr. Gamino.
Thank you, Vice President Dale Campo, governing board members, and Dr. Maya, Superintendent. We have Gabriel Gamino Guerrero here to announce our recognition for outstanding attendance of our schools. We've dedicated a lot of focus on helping our children get to school and to lower our chronic absenteeism and support students and families as best we can. And so we're here to celebrate some schools who are shining. Thank you, Gabe.
That's right. Vice President Del Campo, governing board members, Superintendent Dr. Myers. As you know, and as Melissa just shared, our district has made it a priority to communicate with our community, our families, parent guardians, the importance of regular attendance and its impact on the academic growth. So we are thrilled tonight to share some exceptional news with you and celebrate 3 schools. We would first like, if the governing board would come down and present the certificates along with Ms. Melissa Gonzalez and Superintendent Myers. We would first like to recognize tonight Granada West Elementary School, who has shown tremendous growth in student attendance from Q1 of last year to Q2 of this year, a testament to the dedication of their educators and staff. We would like to now welcome Principal and OC from Granada West joining us tonight. And then stay right there. We're going to take a picture. Thank you. Let's give them another round of applause. We would next like to recognize the Alhambra Preschool Academy's Head Start program on the Granada West campus, who have shown an improvement emphasizing the importance of early education in fostering a love for learning and showing growth from Q1 of last year to Q2 of this year. Joining us from the Preschool Academy is their director and their OC. Let's give our Preschool Academy at Granada West another round of applause. And finally, we have an extra special celebration, this time for the Valencia Newcomer School for achieving the highest overall growth in attendance rates from August to the end of Q1 this year, showcasing incredible potential for the rest of the year. Let's give Valencia Newcomer a round of applause. Thank you. Let's give our 3 schools another round of applause. As you make your way back to your seats, I'd also like to share that all but 1 school met the first quarter goal of having between 90 to 92% average student attendance. That is amazing. So again, we are immensely proud of our collective efforts and commitment to our students' success. We thank everyone involved. And most of all, let's give our students a round of applause for showing up to class every day.
Sorry, if I can say something about the band real quick. I just want to say something before the band leaves. And congratulations on your performance today. I know you had a concert earlier, right? So a lot of work. But it was amazing, you know, somebody who's been in band 8 years, you know, it was just nostalgic to kind of hear the holiday tunes and just kind of remembering myself when I was a 6th grader there, and, you know, I was playing trombone, so shout out to the trombones. I see 5 of you back there. But, you know, great work. I know it takes a lot of work, teamwork, cooperation, listening skills, all those things that, my friends and I, we appreciated, as we grew older. And so, continue to listen to Mr. Witt. He knows his stuff. And parents, thank you for being here. I remember my mom always having to pick me up late or take my friends home, or me jumping on a ride with my friends. And so it takes a lot of work, but we appreciate you as well, parents. Thank you.
Parents, I know how much work that is. I had 3 children that live with us, and I can't even count how many times I had to put gas in the car and how many times I had to change the tires and how many miles I drove. So I know that you've struggled to get your students to where they are today. Thank you very much for all your participation and support of Mr. Witt and your students. They do all of you proud. Thanks for coming, and we're going to take about a 10-minute break, 5-minute break? A short break, it says. We don't know how short is. I'll say 5 minutes. Thank you all. I got the gavel. Back to order, folks. Thanks for sticking around. Wasn't that band performance wonderful? Yes. I always admire how someone can take a bunch of students and give them instruments and then come out with music. I mean, it's just it's a marvelous thing for me that that can happen. So I appreciate that they were here. Definitely puts us in the holiday spirit. At least it puts me in the holiday spirit. We are ready to move on with our agenda. And the next thing up will be Mr. Rivera is going to present us with our emergency preparedness plan. Gosh, we haven't seen you in a while. It's nice to see you.
It's nice to see you too.
Oh, shoot.
So, Vice President De Ocampo, members of the board, Dr. Maez, and colleagues, thank you for the time this evening to provide you with information regarding our work in the area of district safety, security, and health services. In this body of work, a number of us are focused on the needs of the people who live and work in the community that we call Alhambra. This evening, I'd like to cover the topics that you see listed here on this screen, topics that my office and our safety and security, as well as health services team members, focus on and oversee every day. So let's begin this evening by taking a look at our district's Emergency Operations Plan, otherwise known as our EOP. The safety and well-being of Alhambra's students, staff, and community has long been held as a priority by the leaders, past and present, of the Alhambra School District. A little disclaimer for you this evening: in order to protect the integrity of our emergency operations plans, certain documents in this presentation have had information that's been redacted. Emergency protocols guide our leaders and staff through a variety of potential emergencies or unplanned situations or events. And as you can see, we have 17 emergency protocols that guide us in responding to a variety of emergencies or situations that may affect our campuses or our district office. EOP protocols, as we call them, get you on the right screen. As an example, you see one of our protocols here, our evacuation protocol. We would use this particular protocol if we were forced to relocate staff and students from one Alhambra campus to another. What I'd like to do is ask you to note the format of this particular protocol, as all 17 protocols follow the same format. In the upper right-hand quadrant, you will notice that we have guidance for our school leaders. See if I can get this cursor in the right spot here. Upper left-hand quadrant, you see guidance for teachers and staff supervising students. In the lower left quadrant, you see responses that we would be taking here at district office to support the school that was dealing with an emergency. And in the lower right, notes to keep us all focused on resolving this situation safely and quickly. On this particular side, you see the second page of that particular protocol. And in the event that a school evacuation is called for, this protocol would guide us in moving students and staff safely. In column 1, you'll notice every school campus that we have, along with our district office. Column 2 contains the primary evacuation site, the site that we would relocate an evacuating campus to. Column 3, we have a backup site in the event that the campus in column 2 is not able to accommodate the evacuees. And then in column 4, a very important column, that's the location on every campus where we would set up a reunification center for the purpose of reuniting students with their parents or guardians. This next slide contains our emergency go kits. So emergency go kits would be called into use if our electronic information systems were down at the time we were dealing with an emergency or relocating students. You can see in the slide that our schools are asked to maintain hard copies of a number of types of documents that would be used to reunite students with parents or guardians, as well as information to assist staff in the reunification center with identifying students and matching them to their parent or guardian. Schools update this information as needed. Some schools update it more often than others, depending on the turnaround, the numbers of students that are moving in and out of a particular campus. This next slide shows our communication plan. Communication with our schools and communities during lockdowns, shelters in place, or other types of emergencies is an important part of our strategy to resolve emergency situations safely and quickly. Always at the center of our efforts during an emergency situation is our goal of communicating quickly, thoroughly, and carefully. The structure that you see defined in this flow chart guides us in ensuring that our communication is directed at the appropriate stakeholders and that it contains information necessary to help us resolve any emergency affecting any of our sites. This particular slide represents the title page of our emergency operation plan appendix. Alhambra's EOP has an appendix containing this type of information that is often needed by our leaders as they work with and interact with students, parents, guardians, staff members, as well as outside agencies such as the Department of Child Safety, local law enforcement, City of Phoenix and City of Glendale, as well as social and emotional outside service agencies. Now, supporting individuals with disabilities is critical during emergency situations when personal mobility issues or the ability for an individual to receive or understand information or directions is critical and may be an issue. Our leaders are asked to identify all individuals, staff, and students with limitations or disabilities on their campuses and to be prepared to assist them during emergencies or unplanned events as needed. Now let's turn our attention to Alhambra's security team. Alhambra's security team works to monitor our campuses and provide assistance when needed. As you can see from this particular slide, we have security guards assigned to all of our campuses with schools in close physical proximity of each other, sharing a guard. Guards' work hours vary from campus to campus depending upon the student and staff hours and the principal's needs. Now, Alhambra has long been known for its professional development and its focus on adult learning. Our security guards are no exception. Alhambra security guards participate in regular training and development sessions covering a variety of topics, some of which you see listed here, from daily procedures and attendance requirements to learning how to de-escalate tense situations on campuses involving students. Next week, our guards will be participating in a training where they learn how to use AEDs, the automatic external defibrillators that we have located on each of our campuses. And now we come to training, safety and security, as well as health services training. Safety, security, and health service training for our staff is now available online and is more convenient for employees to access since it is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Online training provides us with the ability to be agile and responsive as an organization to staff members as their roles, responsibilities, or employment needs may shift or change during the course of the academic year. Alhambra staff members participate in a variety of state-mandated trainings via Talent Ed, our professional learning platform. And these trainings are provided to them, as I shared, 24/7. And now we come to the work where we communicate the responsibilities that we have as a community to our students and to our schools. Work to keep our schools safe and secure, as well as healthy, requires a committed and coordinated effort from all of our stakeholders. Providing safe and secure spaces for learning, work, and play is a collaborative effort that requires assistance from our school communities as well as from our staff. In order to help our parents and families understand their role in helping to keep Alhambra's students and staff as well as visitors safe, we work to communicate and define the many roles and responsibilities it takes to protect ourselves. In the presentation you see here, the introductory slide, we stress to our community members the importance to provide classrooms, meeting and play spaces, as well as offices where our students, staff, and visitors can meet to learn, play, work, and interact without fear or worry for their safety or well-being. In our effort to communicate clearly with our parents and community members, we cover a variety of topics, the topics you see listed here. And in addition, we also work with our community members as they attend special events and after-hours events on our campuses. The flyer that you see here was created to help us as a district communicate with our parents and families attending school functions. It can be distributed to parents, guardians, and visitors as they attend on-campus events during the school day or activities during after hours, such as games, clubs, or evening events. This year, our team developed a wildly important goal when we were on retreat in Sedona, and that particular goal was focused on the health services aspect of our team's work. Our WIG in health services this year is focused on our health offices. Let's take a look at health office data for last year regarding the number of trips Alhambra students took across our district to our school's health offices. As you can see on this particular slide, Alhambra students made 73,000 trips from their classrooms to our health offices during the course of last year's academic year. Now, if we take those 73,000 trips, and let's assume for a moment that it takes a student 5 minutes to travel from their classroom to the health office and 5 minutes back, and let's be generous and say they only spent 20 minutes in the health office, then we figure, although we believe this is an underestimate, 30 minutes per visit multiplied by 73,000 would get us to 2,190,000 minutes spent by Alhambra kids last year out of their classrooms visiting health offices. If we take those minutes and divide by 60, we come up with 36,500 hours. And if we divide that by 24, and I'm straining to see this slide here, we come up with 4,563 days collectively spent out of the classroom, traveling to and from and visiting our health offices. And those days translate to weeks and ultimately about 25 months, 25 years? 25 years our students spent outside of their classrooms, absent from their teachers and their peers, traveling to and from our health offices and receiving attention. Some of that attention we know not to be related to their health or medical needs. So with that information that we developed this summer, we came up with our WIG goal for this year, and that is to reduce by 25% the 73,000 visits between the month of October, when we officially began this initiative, until the last day of school. So we have been working diligently on that goal as a health services team, and I'm very pleased to share with you some information that Alicia Horton brought to me this afternoon. And so what I'd like to tell you is last year at this time, 1 year ago, our students had made at that point, less than halfway through last academic year, 35,527 trips to health offices. So if we move forward 1 year to today, that 35,527 has decreased to 29,113, representing a difference of 6,388 visits less and a 17% drop towards our 25% ultimate goal. So at this time, I would just like to thank all the staff on all of our campuses, from our teachers for supporting this initiative, to our administrators in the buildings, working hard alongside their health office teams and their nurses to ensure that, to best of our abilities, any visits made to health offices this year are related to health and medical needs, and other needs are being redirected to more appropriate points of service. This is the scoreboard where we keep track of those visits, those numbers that I have shared with you this evening. Our health office staff daily calibrate their numbers. Visits are counted, in-person visits, and communications to parents regarding the health or medical needs of their students. Those numbers are recorded on these scoreboards. Each school office has a scoreboard placed somewhere conspicuously where the staff can view it on a daily basis if they'd like to see that. And then I maintain an exact scoreboard here at the district office, outside my office, where we collectively assemble on a daily basis the numbers from across the district. And that's how we're able to arrive at the numbers that I've shared with you this evening. So if you look at this chart, number 1 represents the month, and that is changed monthly, obviously. Numbers 2 and 3 represent the daily and weekly totals that are being collected at the sites and then aggregated here at the district office daily. And then number 4 are the monthly totals, which are changed, and in each monthly total box, we have noted the number of school days so that we can make fair comparisons from month to month. I'd also like to add that one of the measures that we took this year, we received support in installing electronic kiosks where students are now scanning into the health office with their ID to ensure that the data we are collecting is accurate. And this particular slide represents, and I think you have in front of you, self-care kits. Do they have those now? Okay, thank you, Edith. Edith is handing you a self-care kit. So as she hands that out, let me explain the purpose. Once our school staffs receive information about the initiative and the purpose behind the self-care kits are distributed to all staff members through the health office. The kit that you see in front of you has the sticker on the screen that's currently displayed, and it inventories all the supplies, healthcare supplies, first aid supplies, if you will, that are contained in each kit. As teachers use the supplies, they can return the bags to their health office using the sticker as an inventory label. The health offices can restock and send back to the classrooms. This slide contains guidance that you have in your bag. The card on the left is guidance for when to send a student to the health office, because in no way do we want students restricted from the health office if they have valid medical or health needs. And the card there that you see on the left guides teachers regarding when a student should be sent for professional medical care, versus the card on the right that guides the teachers and the students how to use the supplies in the self-care kit. We feel that these kits are and will continue to contribute to the decrease in unnecessary visits to our health offices, ensuring more time spent in classrooms with teachers and their peers. And last but not least, I would like to just summarize the work that my team and I are focused on this year. There you see a number of different initiatives and projects that we are currently engaged in, from active shooter drills to the self-care kits that we just examined. Child restraint seats is a current project that we are working on. We are working to provide all of our schools with appropriate child restraint seats for the purpose of ensuring students are safely transported when our employees have to put them into their cars and move them from one location to another. I'm not going to walk you through all of these, but you can see that there's a wide variety of initiatives that we are focused on, all with the purpose of ensuring that Alhambra staff, students, and community members are kept safe and secure to the best of our abilities. Subject to any questions that you may have, this concludes my presentation this evening.
Thank you very much. Board members, do you have any questions?
Vice President De Ocampo.
Lupe?
I just want to.
Coming from the, I don't know where, out of the air.
I just want to say, I just want to commend the team for all of this hard work. I remember I was sitting at the table in Sedona when all the magic was happening, and so to see a 17% decrease, and for your wildly important goal to have some progress with those lead measures, I just want to say good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lupe. Anybody else?
Just, yeah, I'll just echo Mr. Concha's sentiments to see a WIG being, having progress on that is excellent. And I know I brought up last year security and how we had to reemphasize or just investigate what our procedures are to see the activity on it, and how we are actively trying to monitor and improve is excellent news for me, and I'm sure all of our employees, and especially every parent. To know that our students are safe is excellent. So thank you for you, your team, everything you do.
Thank you.
I would echo all of that. Thank you for your hard work. I have had the pleasure recently to be on a campus, James W. Rice, when they had a fire drill. I seem to, every year, manage to hit a couple of schools that have fire drills. It was very impressive. They definitely did a good job of evacuating. I know it's important that we do that along with all of our other safety drills that we have on campus. I did have a question. Do our staff, do our leaders, administrators go through the FEMA training to prepare for this, or?
We did have FEMA training several years ago, but we have not done that recently.
Okay. Well, we haven't had that big of a turnover, and it looks like you did a great job. So thank you for being so precise with the details. I truly love this. This is a great idea. And I saw in there somewhere about making sure that you didn't send them to the health office and if they needed shoestrings in their shoes or something like that. So, because many of those visits, I think, tend to be those kinds of things. So I appreciate that you focused on the type of visits that go to the health office, and then that also means that the quality is going to be a little more important, because we are specifically dealing with students that have health needs. Thank you much for that. I appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you all.
Public comment. Public comment. We have two public comments. And I say that because sometimes for many weeks we don't have any. So number one, we have Veronica Barak. You're first up, girl.
Good evening, Governing Board, Superintendent Dr. Myers. Once again, I'm here to give another shout out to, again, the Technology Department. So imagine with me, if you will, having to switch out over 700 iPads on your school campus. and being the point person to do so. On November 30th, it was our day. We were the last ones to go. And I came in that morning at 6:30, mind you, still dark outside, very stressed out and worried about how the transfer was going to go. But I did not need to worry. The tech team showed up and they ran like a well-oiled machine. All I had to do was send out 4 very well-planned, very thought-out emails, and we were ready to go. In less than an hour, all of the old iPads were scanned, boxed up, and new iPads were put on the carts, ready to be used. One of the greatest things to me was seeing Ruben and Alan out there doing the hard work with their team. So it wasn't just the team doing it, they were true servant leaders out there with their team. And, Alan, who's not here, slacker. Alan took,
He's listening, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Alan even took the time out to sit with me one-on-one to not only show me how to troubleshoot these fancy new iPads, but also how to set them up for new students. And 700 is very overwhelming for me. I couldn't even imagine having to do the whole entire district. So I just wanted to shout them out, and they did not pay me to say this. As a matter of fact, I owe Alan a whole bunch of Mountain Dew because he also, the very next day, created 30 loaner iPads so we were ready for makeup testing. So thanks, Alan, wherever you are. So thank you to the team for all your hard work.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm sitting here thinking, could I even count to 700? I'm not sure. It might take me a while. Thank you for your comments. We have a second person, Margot del Rosario.
Good evening. This is my first time at this school board meeting. I should be a little pro. I am in one of my other districts. I am a guest teacher, and I'm proud to be a guest teacher. I've been with this district so long, I won't even say the numbers, but I've seen a lot of positive items, and it was very interesting. I took a few notes when the gentleman was before us on all the emergency kits and even the high attendance. So I thought, one of my two other districts need to take some notes from Alhambra. I had to squeeze that in. Okay, first today I was at Barcelona. I've always had good support, whether it's the phone call, the teacher next door, administrators, and today I used all 3 of those at Barcelona. It was 5th grade, so it was a really good 5th grade team, and I'm going back tomorrow. I canceled my job in my other district just to help you out, since it was a couple days, whatever the reason was, and that was great and fine with me. Second, my first background and degree is in nutrition. I used to do diets in some hospitals in California in my youth, as in under 32 years of age. And today I had a substitute sack lunch. I called the cafeteria, talked to a gentleman, I don't remember his name, but I said, mine needs to be refrigerated or I'm going to have food poisoning, and they really need me today. So he said, well, come on up, and we have clear sack. I forgot what he called it, but he said, it's the peanut-free substitute. It's like, okay, peanuts. A lot of schools have the signs up, peanut-free room, don't bring peanuts in, and sometimes I do make peanut butter and banana sandwiches, so sometimes I just don't eat that unless I'm just going to go to my car, which I don't really do that too often, but I'm cautious of that. And you know what? That sunflower butter and the jelly on the wheat bread was darn good. Now, somebody who's celiac disease or gluten intolerant probably couldn't eat that. My dad personally was diagnosed in his 60s, right before he walked me down the aisle, maybe 2 years before. So, he hung in there till he was, 91. He's been gone more than 10 years now. So there's something about diets and eating the right things, where they're allergic to bananas I've seen in classrooms, to maybe coconut. I don't think we have coconut usually for snacks. Today we had kiwis, and not everybody wanted one. So I snuck 2 in, but that's okay. That's okay. They're good for you. It might help me sleep better tonight. I don't know. Security guards, I almost left that out. I wrote that down, though, before the gentleman was up before me. And that's one nice thing to see in this district. I have suggested it more than once in Glendale Elementary last year, and I'll probably bring it up again in the new year when I talk about a few other positive things. But the security guards are nice because we all, know of all our shootings. I believe keeping up on the news pretty well still, that there's always like one shooting somewhere, whether it's a small district, medium, or a large one that might be the size of a small college. So anyway, thank you for your time, and I want everybody to have a great holiday season, including the superintendent that I did not first address, and I should have. So I'm sorry. I will probably be back again, and I don't know what else to say, but yes, you're really lucky to have Ruben. We worked 1 or 2 summers together for the city of Phoenix, so I had to throw that in. He was so good with children, and that's how I'm going to end this. I know, that was in our youth. He's only 39, and I'm only 49. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. We appreciate your comments. And stay guest teaching with us. We certainly like having you. Now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. I call for a motion that the governing board approves the consent agenda item F2 through F10.
I move that we approve the consent agenda items F2 through F10.
Is there a second?
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
I think that was an aye, wasn't it? Hard to tell with this. All right, thank you. Passes. We're moving on to the second reading of, no. Did I turn too many pages at the same time? Excuse me while I figure out which page I'm. I turned 2 pages at once. All right, we're moving on to the public hearing, and this is item G1, public hearing on 2023-2024 revised expenditure budget. Mr. Huesman and Mr. Coffinger.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice President De Ocampo, governing board members, Dr. Maez, Alhambra community, and President Conchas. I know you're out there listening. December budget revisions are not performed every year. So I wanted to share a little about the criteria that require a district to complete a December budget revision and explain the details that dictate the bottom line increases to both our maintenance and operations and capital outlay budgets. As you are all aware, districts are required to submit proposed and adopted budgets in July every year. Then, at the end of the fiscal year, districts are required to approve their final budget revision in May. Those 2 bookends around the fiscal year are the requirements. Additionally, the Arizona Department of Education has a checkpoint in October at which they evaluate the district's adopted budget compared to the current year data regarding district funding. The most significant data point in a district is the district's average daily membership, which we usually refer to as the ADM. If during the October checkpoint, the Arizona Department of Education determines that the district's adopted budget is more than 1% higher than what the state is forecasting, for the district's general budget limit, the district must perform a December budget revision. So we have that checkpoint in October. If we're above that 1% threshold, you're doing a budget revision. When adopting the budget in July, multiple estimations and assumptions are required. ADMs are projected, and we also project our carry forward because we have our encumbrance period. So you're basing that on what you think you're going to spend in those 2 months as we're in the encumbrance period. And we also have interest amounts. So all those have to be estimated because they're in the future. This year, we had the reconfiguration of 5th grade to Choice Learning Academy from Westwood. As you recall, in September, we brought this to you as a formal item that needed to be approved. And one of the reasons we had to do that is because we were unable to sync the ADM for those 5th graders. So at that time, we were not fully realizing our enrollment, our ADM, with the state because it wasn't syncing together. So this has since been remedied, and luckily, you were able to fix this retroactively. So all of that data that was not capturing in September goes back to the beginning of the fiscal year and is now accurately reporting to the state. So that being said, when the data was pulled at that checkpoint in October, we were not accurate. Now we are. So that's why we have a unique situation, I would say, of a budget revision where we're revising upwards. Because generally, you'd think you'd have to revise down. In completing our budget revision, we used our actual carry forward since our encumbrance period had ended. We are now recording an accurate ADM, and we have our actual interest amounts from the previous year. So now I'm going to give you some numbers and the details. Regarding our M&O budget, we're realizing an increase of $8,209,374 due to a change in the budget balance carry forward amount from FY23. Mainly this was during the encumbrance period expenditures that we were able to capture within ESSER, within the ESSER funds. So that being said, as we were doing that during the encumbrance period, our carry forward was a projection, so now we're able to realize the actual numbers since that time has passed. Also in the M&O, there was an increase from the state of $75,946 due to an adjustment in Prop 123. And we had an increase of $1,095,300 due to changes in average daily membership since our adopted budget. So that would represent, the bulk of that I would say would be the 5th grade CLA Westwood reconfiguration. So ultimately, that leads us from our adopted budget, we are increasing our M&O budget $9,380,620 upwards, giving us a total of M&O budget of $98,059,335. Our capital budget is also increasing. An increase of $3,811,265 is due to a change in the budget balance carry forward from FY23. A decrease of $880 due to a change in average daily membership. Capital budgets are based off of previous year's ADM, not current year's ADM. That's why you have a difference there. And an increase of $24,860 due to a change in the interest, the actual interest that we are receiving now that we have the actual numbers in from FY23. So ultimately, with the capital budget is increasing $835,245, excuse me. And the total capital budget is $16,489,178. So in summary, our M&O budget is increasing $9.4 million if we round those, and capital is increasing $3.8 million. So we had to do the budget revision because of we were above the 1% threshold in that October data, but now that we are using accurate, real data that is capturing real expenditures from the previous year and our actual carry forward, we are realizing these gains in our budgets. Are there any questions?
Great news. Questions, people?
Vice President De Ocampo?
Yes. Lupe.
I know that we also did this process last year, but could you please explain that although we are increasing in this budget revision, we are still on the decline when it comes to our budgets looking forward because of enrollment decline?
Yes, absolutely. So when we do adopt a budget, as I mentioned, we are estimating our average daily membership, our enrollment, as, you know, for our purposes. We budgeted for a 3% decline in enrollment, and I believe the last numbers I saw that came through this week were negative 2.1% compared to last year's enrollment. So that's, once we are accurately showing our ADM, that's why our 3% budget our 3% decline budget that's based off of is now increasing because we're at 2.1. So that's the main reason we're going up.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you for your detail. I do realize that we still are having declining enrollment, but I appreciate the caution that you use when you put the budget together so that we do come out in this situation where even though we're still declining, we've padded the budget. Now, padded isn't a good word. We've estimated with the budget the numbers to be less than what it actually, no, I think I said that differently. Anyway, we're very cautious about how much we attribute to ADM. I wanted to make the distinction that you made. You said the capital outlay is based on the enrollment from last year's ADM, where the other budgets are based on current ADM. So that makes a big difference. And correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't we a couple of years ago switch over to where it used to be the 180th day was the big deal? Or no, the 100th day was the big
100th
deal,
day,
but
correct.
now they do that calculated every day. We have,
Right, the state
And
wants
that
to
makes
make
a
sure
big
we're on
difference.
pace with our budget, so they catch it mid-year right here to make sure that everyone's on the same page and everyone's going through the process to make sure their budget's accurate, so.
so to bring that all around to recognizing our schools for their wonderful attendance, it is so important that your students are in school every single day because we get our funding based on how many students are in that school every single day. And the ADM doesn't just calculate it on the whole day, they divide it down. If a student leaves early, they take some money away from you. So it's important that they be in school, they be there on time, and short of having some emergency, they stay there as long as possible until the end of the day. Is that accurate?
I'd like to clarify a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
I'm not gonna tell you it's not important that kids aren't in school.
Well, we don't want sick kids in school, absolutely.
But the enrollment is actually what is part of the funding formula. So the absences aren't really factored into that. Are they enrolled in your school district?
Right, yes, okay, you're right, I got that.
Yeah.
But the 90% attendance is really important.
It is.
Thank you. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a quick question. So revisiting the 180-day, I do remember that used to be a guideline. Is that not a guideline anymore for funding?
The 100th day is basically when
the
they,
100th day.
that's what's gonna dictate your budget revision.
Okay.
You're locked into that ADM. once
So
that
that's
happens.
still there.
That's still the case, yes.
They take the 100th day and then they propose your funding from that. Okay.
Yes.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your hard work. Tell your team thank you. I know that's a lot of work getting all that put together on a sheet that we can all see and understand. Well, see, I'm not sure about that. But I did see the Civic Center fund in there. Thank you both. Moving on to H, Business Services. H1 is the financial report. That is submitted monthly and provides our district's financial status as of the report date of 12/6/2023. And that is information only at this point. H2 is the approval of the revised expenditure budget that we just heard. The administration recommends that the governing board approve the 2023-2024 revised expenditure budget. And I call for a motion that the governing board approve that revised expenditure budget.
I move that the governing board approve the 2023-2024 revised expenditure budget.
A second.
Thank you. The motion was made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you. And now we are moving to the board policies. This is section I. Okay, I1, a second reading. This is a policy that we read for the first time last year. last meeting. And it is the one that talks about changing the date and just specifying that the governing board shall meet in January following the election year. Do we need any clarification? We read this. This is the second reading for this. Nope. Okay. Call for a motion that the governing board approve the second reading of policy BDA, board organizational meeting.
I move that we, I'm sorry, what was the phrasing again?
Board organizational meeting.
I move that we approve the second reading of policy BDA, board organizational meeting.
A second?
I second it.
You notice how this is working? Back and forth?
We didn't even talk about it beforehand. We just. Ready.
Oh, I can second. Oh, I have more power than you. All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
And you people out there, you can second also. All right, it passes. Now we're going to I2, the first reading of policy EBC. This is the emergency response plans that we just heard about today as well. The governing board, and it also, wait a minute. Excuse me, I need clarification here.
That's not what you want.
Okay. Yeah, okay. All right.
That first part, that's why I said, if you just want to read this part.
Okay, this policy, EBC, is the emergency response plans that were developed by the school district governing board, and we got the presentation on that earlier today. So we had some clarification from ASBA about some things that we needed to change in our policy to get it up to date. And we are calling for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy EBC, emergencies.
I move that the governing board approve the first reading of EBC emergencies.
I second.
Thank you for waiting in case someone.
I get just to see.
Wait time was done. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Policy passes. The first reading passes. We are now doing the first reading of I3, and this is the policy IHA, Basic Instructional Program. This is relating to an ARS statute, talking about our staff having dyslexia training. And we need to have a specialist and a coach at each school site that is trained in dyslexia requirements. And this is particularly for grades K through 3. Any call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading for policy IHA, Basic Instructional Programming.
I move that we approve the first reading of policy IHA, Basic Instructional Program.
I second it.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I4, this is a first reading, part-time and substitute professional staff employment. These are some recommended changes to the, it's just a language change. Call for a motion that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GCG.
I move that the governing board approve the first reading of policy GCB, part-time and substitute professional staff employment.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Moving to J, Human Resources, J1, the 2024-2025 administrative, certified, and guest teacher salary schedules. The administration recommends that the governing board approve the submitted salary schedules, and I call for a motion that the governing board approve the submitted salary schedules.
I move that we approve the the submitted salary schedules.
I second it.
Thank you. Are there any comments on this?
Maybe a clarification. Is this 24-25 school year or calendar year? Or it's 24, 25 calendar, or school year, correct?
For the school year.
Why would we approve 2 years? Okay, yeah. I answered, yeah, I got my own question. All right, I got it. Thank you.
Could we have an explanation as to why we're approving the salary schedule with no changes, 2020, whatever we're in now, 2023, 2023? Why we're continuing with the same salary schedule?
Yes, Ms. Perry, our Executive Director of HR, will explain. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice President Ocampo. I can't see you behind Garland, but I.
Trying to grow.
Governing board members, Dr. Myers, our community. The salary schedules, we're preparing for our contracts very early this year. So we wanted to ensure that we had salary schedules in place because we know that our legislature has not made decisions on our budget yet, and they'll be reconvening again in January. We are setting our budget, our salary schedules. We are simply rolling over numbers from this year to next year. And when the legislature reconvenes and when they settle on a budget for the state and schools, we may be able to, we'll take a look and readdress it at that time. But to be in front of our contracts, we wanted salary schedules out sooner.
Any comments?
I'm sure employees appreciate having that data early as opposed to right before the year ends, and then they have weeks to figure out what they're going to do. So it's a good idea to do it now.
It's hard to sign a contract when you don't understand when you're going to get paid.
Yeah.
Having said that, I.
Miss Perry.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I also would like to emphasize the steps that folks will be able to take, and how is it true that some other districts are not able to do those steps? Can you explain more of that?
Absolutely, good question. As many of us know, in Alhambra, our salary schedules have steps where employees, if they have a step to go down, they will move down a step. I can't, speak about many other districts, but we do know that it is a practice among other districts to freeze employees so they aren't able to go down. So all of our employees that are eligible to go down a step from step 1 to 2 or 10 to 11 or 21 to 22, they will go down a step. We haven't put additional funds into the salary schedule until we are more secure and have information from the state. But they will be able to move down, and those steps are about a 1.65% increase from step to step. So they will see something more, but we won't be able to add it in until we know, just to be conservative and responsible.
And for people out there that understand what we're saying when we say that you're moving down a step, you move on that step based on your seniority and your time.
Years of experience.
Years of experience.
One more year would move all of our employees down one more year.
Right, so we're committed to that, and we're also
The
committed.
chart visual is down. Your steps are up, but the chart reads down. That's why.
Yes, say we're moving down, but I feel like we're moving up.
Down is good. Down is up. Down is good.
That's exactly right.
Then we say we bottom out. Yeah, there's
A bottom out.
And we're also funding if they're moving over for their education.
Absolutely. Both our support staff and our certified staff can move over for career development or professional growth, and they can, utilize that opportunity for additional income and funds. We're happy to support as well. And the very cool thing about that is that great diagonal move, right? So you move over and you move a step down, and that's
So keep up the training.
Yes, thank you.
We need to remember that the state of Arizona doesn't always support education as strongly as many of us would like. So be sure to keep your ears out there and your voices heard, that public education is a very important part of our society, and that we need to make sure that we express our feelings that it is important and critical to us and our community and our students and our future leaders, that we support our public schools to the level that some other states do. Having said that, which was probably politically incorrect, we will move on. I have to call for the vote on. Oh, I'm sorry, I have to call for the vote on the human resources certified and guest teacher salary schedules.
No, but
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
There it goes.
Moving on to J2, the support staff salary schedule. Again, the administration recommends that the governing board approve the salary schedule, so I call for a motion that the governing board approve the submitted support staff salary schedule.
I move that the governing board approve the support staff salary schedule as submitted.
I second.
All those in favor? Oh, comments? I forgot to ask for comments. I'm always proud of the fact that we do such a good job on our support staff salary. And this is actually adjusting for the raises that were legislated to in minimum wage. So, oops, I'm talking about the wrong one. You know, I get this down. I only do this once every year. All right, so we call for the motion. Please, all those in favor of the support salary schedule, please say aye.
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 Those opposed? All right, now, the support staff minimum wage increases. A call for a motion that the governing board approve the submitted revised 2023-2024 support staff salary schedule. And this is the one that's recognizing the changes in the minimum wage laws.
I move that we approve the submitted revised 2023-2024 support staff salary schedule.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Passes. Moving on to J4, regulation revision information. This is additional language that's been added to the regulation in reference to the staff sick leave for professional and support staff. And it's just information. We don't have to, this is just information. And now, what we've all been waiting for, new business. This is our K-1 mathematics textbooks adoption. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the committee recommendation. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say it. SAVAS, Envision Mathematics Program and Textbook Adoption. And we have Mr. Raul Ruiz and Tanner Kent here to present information on the text adopted.
Good evening, all. Tonight's presentation will be led by Mr. Tanner Kent.
Good evening, Alhambra Governing Board, Superintendent Dr. Mayes, as well as our Alhambra community here and at home. I'm very excited to share some of our updates with our long-running mathematics adoption process. So just a quick review of where we started. We've learned from our previous experiences and have actually elongated this process. So it started last fall, 2022, with a request for proposals from any publisher that has a math program. We broke the adoption process into 2 rounds, one last spring and our most recent round 2 that just finished this month. The purpose of this was to narrow the field from a lot of programs that were available down to a top 5 so that our committee can spend even more time reviewing and doing their due diligence to recommend a program for adoption to you. So again, just that timeline, moving forward, and a large rationale for this change was that we wanted to put materials in the hands of our teachers this spring so that they feel very prepared to start next school year with this new program. And so we have the goal pending your approval tonight to push out purchase orders this month or January so that we get to start receiving those materials soon, and then have plenty of training opportunities for our teachers during the spring, during the summer if they so choose, and of course, and during our back to school season, with the goal of implementing this new program next school year in August. Personally, just a shout out to anybody who is part of the round 1 or round 2 process, or honestly the hundreds of teachers who spent their time reviewing materials at their school site here at district office in order to provide a recommendation to you. So it could not be done with just me or just the committees, but with all of our Alhambra community who came together to provide their thoughts. These are some of their thoughts about the program that ultimately is recommended to you for adoption tonight. We see staff appreciating the build that it has throughout the program, the gradual release of responsibility, the different opportunities for fluency and for practice, assessments that are provided, an engaging format for all of our students, including our younger students. It teaches all of the standards in a progression and supports teachers with effective lesson delivery. Just to give you a quick snapshot of some of the features of the program that our committee and our teachers raved about. First and foremost is the plethora of professional development opportunities that exist within the program. All the screenshots that you will see tonight come from the actual hard copy teacher's edition. We know print is premier nowadays, even with an online platform available. We want our students to have books in front of them and our teachers leverage those teacher's editions as well. So we have professional development videos that are available to the teacher. You'll see that the timestamp on here is 2 minutes and 47 seconds. So it's valuing our teachers' time that we can deliver profound professional learning in a short snippet of time so that they're ready to teach their students. All the pieces include a focus, so what is the content that the students are about to learn, along with coherence, which ties in previous learning as well as upcoming learning to the content that's about to be learned in the particular lesson. It also includes rigor elements so that we can ensure that we're teaching to the depth and complexity of the standard, as well as providing for those mathematical practices and for effective teaching practices in the classroom. So it's very supportive of our teachers and lots of positive feedback surrounding these resources. The lessons themselves include a daily review of previous skills. So again, that spiraling of content throughout. So our students are always holding on to what they just learned most recently as well as in the distant past, along with a daily challenge problem that actually is the same problem, just a different facet that's examined throughout the lesson, throughout the week. We do start our lessons off with problem-based learning, so it allows our students to tackle something head-on. It honors the expertise that they bring to the table. It requires students to collaborate and attack a problem in a variety of ways, and then teachers elevate the different strategies that students have. But that's certainly not all of the learning that takes place. The next piece of that is a visual component that allows our students to see and have concrete representation of the learning that they're engaging in. A big piece for our committee as well as our teachers, resounding feedback was that they wanted lots of opportunities for our students to practice and apply those skills throughout the lesson. So this is just one example here, along with intervention practice and activities that are supportive of our teachers. And additional practice pages, our teachers are able to leverage these versus spend time crafting problems. We also have reteach opportunities, mathematical literacy building opportunities, as well as enrichment or extension opportunities. So again, a big priority for our committee was that our teachers had a plethora of resources to pull from versus have to go out and find things. And so this supports the balance of their time. We also include a lot of assessment opportunities. There's both an assessment practice as well as the actual assessment through a variety of item types. We have STEM activity opportunities that are included, performance tasks that assess students, as well as the opportunity for student self-reflection and metacognition on their own evaluation of their progression to learning. We also have problem-based learning that is very contextualized and pulls in other subject areas, so that it's a very rich learning and experience. Lots of resources for our teachers to grow into. It was very bite-sized and manageable across our committee. Their perspective was that it's something that they can jump into the first year, have the priorities down, and then eventually build up to the full program after a few years. One particular shout out, and we know that one of our most finite resources is time. So when we look at this 4th grade lesson pacing for the year, the core path is 104 days of instruction. Even if we extend to the 3-act math and topic review and assessment, that comes to 144. So our teachers and students feel comfortable that they have the time in order to truly teach and master the content that's delivered, with the goal of it being before our assessment threshold times. So with that, if there are any questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to do so.
Any questions?
Madam Vice President.
Oh,
Go ahead.
You can go ahead. We can.
Hey, you get to go first.
I just want to say I really appreciate the math literacy piece of it, especially when we're trying to improve reading and writing skills. And I'm really excited for how this will help us increase our scores when it comes to math on state testing. Thank you.
I have a question. So I believe last time we talked about this in October, we had quite a few selections or options available to the teachers. Can you provide insight on how this curriculum ultimately was chosen and how it compared with some of the other options?
Sure. So one of the programs that was under consideration was what we currently have, a renewed version of it, so to speak. When the committee was looking first at just staff feedback across the district, they wanted to select a program that their peers also wanted, not just the members in the room. And there was the balance between keeping what we already have and what we know versus getting something new, while knowing what we've had hasn't worked to its full capacity of what we want to see for our students. Teachers also really wanted a lot of more practice opportunities for students. Some of the other programs didn't provide those resources for teachers, so they felt that they would be spending a plethora amount of time to create worksheets or practice opportunities for students, and they didn't feel that that was the best investment of their time when they can take a resource that has already done all the tricky math to make sure that students are going to arrive at an answer that's reasonable, and teaching students or intervening on students who might have trouble with it.
Oh, one other question. And this adoption will be district-wide to all schools?
Correct.
Thank you for all your hard work. I sat in on a couple of those meetings. It was very impressive how detailed our staff was at looking at the possibilities that were in front of them. They didn't miss anything. They were, I think they maybe had their microscopes out looking at those pages. I definitely appreciate the idea of it being a K-8 adoption. I know in the past we've toyed with doing a different adoption for upper grades, and then you don't have the continuity, so that piece is really nice that we have that moving forward, that continuity from one grade to the next. I also appreciated the inclusion not only of the literacy, but also some science. The content from other content was integrated with the math, which I think is important. We don't live our lives in silos of math, science, English language arts. It all goes together. I think it's important the students learn that. Some of the examples that were provided as far as connecting to real life situations were definitely ones that students would relate to. There was also a component in here about helping students who have English as their second language, which is important for a community like ours as well. And did you notice they were teaching them how to count to 1 million? So you guys can call them in when you need budget help. They're going to know how to count to 1 million. So yes, I think, please tell all the people that were on the committee and all those that spent hours reviewing. And I know I sat with them for like 2 hours one afternoon. They weren't giving up until they got it right. So thank them for that. Any other questions? All right. I call for a motion that the governing board approve the committee recommended SAVAS Envision Math Program in textbook adoption.
I move that the governing board approve the committee recommended SAVAS and Vision mathematic programs and textbook adoption.
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Pass. Moving on to K2, the Valley of the Sun United Way Memorandum of Understanding. This is an opportunity for us to work with one of our community agencies, the Valley of the Sun United Way. They will collaborate with us and improve. It's going to focus on chronic absenteeism, which we have discussed earlier in this meeting. So we're hoping that the collaboration with Valley of the Sun United Way will get our percentages even above 90%, right? So I call for a motion that the governing board approve a memo of understanding between SD and the Valley of the Sun United Way.
I move that we approve a memorandum of understanding between AESD and the Valley of the Sun United Way.
I second it.
Any discussion? Any discussion? I think it's impressive that Valley of the Sun is going to provide some training on effective strategies for keeping our attendance improving. And they have some peer learning networks that we will be able to utilize in helping our staff grow our attendance even higher than 90%. Anything else?
Yeah, just real quick. I appreciate the level of support that we're going to get through this opportunity. I think knowing best practices and what's working for other districts or what other school sites is going to be helpful for us to align ourselves with those strategies. So I'm happy that we're hopefully we move forward in this direction.
I call for the vote.
Aye.
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 stapled this so tight. K3, district calendars for 2024-25, 2025-26, 26-27, school years. The administration is recommending that we adopt these three calendar years. I call for a motion that the governing board approve a 3-year adoption of the Alhambra Elementary School District calendar.
I move that the governing board approve the 3-year adoption of the Alhambra Elementary School District calendar for the 2024, 2025, 2025, 2026, and 2026, 2027 school year as.
I second.
Any discussion?
I just had a comment. I'm not sure how late it is in the process, and I was going to talk to you prior, Ms. Perry, but just potentially adding something along the lines of election day and primary days. We rely on things like that, so it would be helpful to have that. I know we mirror a lot of this information to the high schools, but maybe we can influence them down the road too.
I have always dreamed of the elementary school district setting the calendar and Phoenix Union. But that's been years I've been hoping that would happen. So somehow they're the big guys in the room, so they get to set the calendar. I think that's a valid point about Election Day. I myself went to a couple of the committee, I think I only went to one. I was hoping from my own perspective that we would look at a little bit of variety in the way we do our calendar, knowing that we'd like to stay tied with Phoenix Union. But I think we need to also be innovative and recognize the needs of our staff and our families and our community, which is only a little portion. We're only one of the 13 districts that feed into Phoenix Union. And some of our districts, neighboring districts, are breaking out and changing their calendars to fit the needs of their communities. So even though we've adapted this for 3 years, I think there's potential that we could make some adjustments in the future if we need to. Having said all that, I call for the vote.
Aye.
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 Moving on to L, comments from the governing board members. Lupe, you want to start us off?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Alhambra community, governing board members, Dr. Mayas. I just want to report that I attended the Arizona School Board Association annual conference. And I also represented us in the election of the officers for this year, the next upcoming year. I also want to give a great shout out to the entire team for the food distribution event that happened in Alhambra. I visited all 3 sites. I spent a lot of time with the James W. Rice site crew, and also thank you to Alhambra resource staff for feeding me lunch afterwards. I really appreciate that. I also want to give a shout out to the cabinet and to superintendent and to Dana, everybody, and technology too, who stayed late for our retreat. I really appreciated the presentations on Leader and Me, the 5-year strategic plan, the enrollment report that took a lot of time and effort, and just everything that we discussed and learned. And that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Lupe. Are you in DC? Are you in Washington?
Yes, for work.
Freezing to death?
Yes.
Any further comments?
I just wanted to make a comment on, I know we had a wonderful presentation on safety, and the discussion around individual or students with disabilities came up a few times. And so just a reminder, I just encourage all school leaders at their sites to continue to observe our large events, our arrivals and dismissals, all the students who maybe have trouble navigating or pinpointing where to go. That might help with the feedback of providing Mr. Rivera for emergency situations. This includes how they are getting to where they need to go to, using hills versus ramps, just things like that. So I just want to remind everybody to look out for our students in that way. I know we talked about the mobility situation, but sometimes even our students who just get overwhelmed with the crowds and where to go. And so in those situations, just encourage plans around that. Maybe there's a different route for students who get overwhelmed or whatnot. So just comments on that. Oh, and sorry. And then I also wanted to just share that I went on a right along with the transportation department, and it was great. I appreciated just the setup, getting me to be participating in that, the flow in which the students got on, got off. You know, it went from 0 to 100 back to 0 real quick. So it was neat to just experience that and the different routes that we took and getting the students to all the campuses. They really liked this. They wanted it. They wanted to wear it. I couldn't give it to them, but you know, it's a nice little, you know, thing, holiday thing. So thank you.
Thank you for setting the stage here with your reindeer. My comments, I echo what Lupe said. I've been on the board for a number of years, been on a few other school boards as well. Our team is putting together some of the best retreats I've ever attended. They're very informational, lots of data that's important for us to know, explained clearly and explicitly in language that is understandable from my level, not from some academic level. So yes, I agree that the retreat was definitely beneficial, and I hope we continue to have those kinds of events and have them with that same format that has rigor and information that is important to us. I have another comment. Guess what? It's the holidays. Happy holidays to all of you. Hopefully you will take time away from lesson planning and organizing your offices so that you will spend time with your family and friends. If you have family coming in or if you're going out of town for your family or friends, please enjoy the time you have with them. Time with friends and families are always special, and there's just never enough time for that. So make the best of it. Don't use your keys and go into your classroom. Don't get on the school buses. Stay home. Well, don't stay home. Stay out of the school and enjoy. Find something that you really enjoy doing and do it and share it with your friends and your family. You have well-deserved this 2 weeks off. And believe me, after Friday, you will deserve even more time off because I know how those kids get the last day before vacation. So thank you all for what you've done. Well, maybe we could start a petition. All right, anything else? Happy holidays to all of my board members that I share this seating arrangement with and our leadership team. Thank you all for what you do. And we are now moving on to governing board direction and/or agenda items. Any requests? Any requests? Lupe, any requests? Christian, any requests?
Just as a joke that Dr. Myers takes her time off. She's a hard worker.
We can take the keys away from her?
She's a hard worker, very hard
She
worker.
is a hard worker, and she sets that standard for everyone else to meet that high level of working as well. I do have a request. I would like us to have, I believe it would be a study session. I would like to explore our options in relation to the Arizona School Board Association. I don't think it's any big surprise that there's been a lot of controversy and some things that have been going on with the Arizona School Board Association. We have just taken it for granted that that is the only organization that can help us with our policies and policy updates and provide trainings and things for us. I think it's time that, in light of what has happened recently and the way it was handled, we look at the other options that are out there and see what other school districts are looking at as well. And maybe ASBA is the one that we want to choose, but I think in all fairness to our community, and not only our families, but our staff community as well, that we do take a look at this. Anybody else have anything? All right, your turn. Comments from the superintendent.
Good evening, everyone. We'll begin our comments this evening with Ms. Melissa Gonzalez.
Thank you. Good evening, Vice President De Ocampo, governing board members, and Superintendent Dr. Mayes. Tonight, I just want to celebrate our Health Services Department, not only for the WIG accomplishments that we've been able to get to this far, but in speaking with them, just understanding all the behind the scenes work they are doing quietly but fiercely of outreach, trying to partner with different organizations to bring health support into our kids, whether if it's the Breath Mobile to help students, to working with partnerships like funeral homes to get funding to support costs for kids for procedures that they may have. I don't think they leave any stone unturned, and they try to reach out. As soon as they hear a connection, they go for it. They're always trying to heal the needs of our students, and I just want to celebrate Alicia Horton and Brianna Kehoe and our health services team. Thank you.
Good evening, Vice President Dale Campo, Governing Board members, and Dr. Myers and our Alhambra community. Earlier this evening on the agenda, there was an information item to update language in one of our policies or regulations. We're really excited about this, and I want to share a little bit more details about it. Our human resources team worked really collaboratively with our business services, mainly our payroll department as well, to really refine this addition to the regulation. It's a PTO payout option. We've heard feedback from our classified and support staff that during these longer extended school breaks, such as fall break, winter break, spring break, it can be difficult and challenging to manage a drop in that biweekly paycheck because they aren't working. So we've developed an opportunity to allow our PTO, a PTO payout option for our 9, 10, and 10.5-month employees. We're really excited about this. We hope it brings, our aim is to support well-being and honor the work and dedication of all of our employees. Really excited about this. Details, eligibility, directions, everything it's included in the regulation, and we will be sharing this out via email with our whole staff. And we're really excited about this, and I'm very proud of being able to offer this to our staff. So just wanted to share that on our agenda.
Vice President Dale Campo, you've done a fine job of facilitating tonight's meeting. Dr. Myers, governing board members, Alhambra community, good evening. I'd like to share a couple whole child highlights, including tonight's wonderful presentation from band director Mark Witt from Granada East and his 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students. It was an absolute pleasure to hear them perform. In the area of athletics, we participated in what are called the IDAC tournaments. That included 4 participating districts of Alhambra, Creighton, Phoenix L, and Isaac. And among those games, we had some celebrations, including in December, our volleyball tournament at Central High, where James W. Rice Volleyball earned 2nd place. Global Academy of Phoenix, their volleyball team earned 3rd place. And in December, the boys soccer tournament at Alhambra High School and Central High School, our Choice Learning Academy soccer team won 1st place, which is really cool, and Catalina's soccer team won 2nd. So definitely a highlight for our athletics. And lastly, in the area of arts, we have a traveling art exhibition that we participate in where 40 of our artists throughout the district are going to have their art pieces that have been selected traveling in different areas throughout Arizona, including the Arizona Capitol Legislative Hallway, Secretary of State's office, Arizona State Board of Education offices, and Parsons Medical Center. In fact, tomorrow is the kickoff for that traveling exhibition, which is from 5:30 to 7:30 at the Passages Gallery on the corner of 7th Street and Palm Lane, if anybody's interested in participating in that. And lastly, and certainly not least, one of our partnering districts, Buckeye, was recently on the news where they were celebrating the number of students who had earned perfect scores on the state assessment, the AASA. And so we saw that in a story and came back and asked our data specialist, hey, who among our students actually scored a perfect score on the AASA? And we actually have 17 students in our district who fetched a perfect score in mathematics on the state assessment. And so I just want to highlight real quickly the 5 schools that include these students: ATS, Barcelona, Cordova, Sevilla West and Gap all had at least one student who earned a perfect score on the math AASA. So we've printed up some certificates. We're going to send those out to schools tomorrow and celebrate those students, and we celebrate the hard efforts of those kiddos, their families, and of course the communities they call school and home. Thank you very much.
Vice President De Ocampo, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Mayes. As you are probably aware, ESSER programs put the district in a free meal status for all students. When that support expired, the district chose to self-fund to maintain the level of support for our families in FY23. We quickly realized that the significant cost of that is not something we can sustain, so we moved into, for FY24, back into an application status for schools that don't qualify under the community eligibility provision. That's called CEP. CEP allows the nation's highest poverty schools and districts to serve breakfast and lunch at no cost to all enrolled students without collecting household meal applications. And currently, 7 of our schools fall under this program, with 9 schools being served traditionally through the meal application process, where you're approved for free or reduced lunch, or you are in full pay status. So program status relies upon meal applications and income verifications, and this is a really intense process. In our district, child nutrition works on the direct certifications and the meal applications. Federal Project supports the families who need alternate income forms. Our parent volunteer coordinators and office teams assist families with awareness, paperwork, and sometimes constant encouragement that is needed to get that paperwork completed and returned. And our community relations department helps with a strategic communication campaign to families who still need to submit. This year, the end result of all these efforts is that with our current submissions and the state's formula, we are showing an ISP, that's the identified student percentage, of 115%. I'm not going to bore you with how that math is done, but what this means is that we can claim 100% of meals served at free reimbursement rates and provide meals to students at no cost to their families in FY24. So the bottom line is that through the relentless efforts of many teams, it made it possible for all of Alhambra's students to receive nutritious school meals for free for the next 4 school years. As an added bonus, just for employees who are listening, this status also supports your ability to qualify for public service loan forgiveness. So if you don't know what that is, check with HR. They got all the details. Thank you.
Thank you all. So again, a lot of great things happening in our district that we're very proud of. Ms. Ragland wasn't able to be with us today, but she did want me to share some of the celebrations from our social skill and emotional support technicians, also known as our CSWs, counselors and social workers. And so she shared a number of things. Today I had the opportunity to see them celebrating the holidays together. They were having a ton of fun, and so it was neat to see all the smiles and laughter. But some of the few celebrations, CSW Tony Johnson at James W. Rice, who's created a leadership program, and just what a pleasure it's been to see some of our students teaching and mentoring younger students. CSW's Eric Aldama and Tracy Hart at Granada East, who've provided multiple families with additional holiday support through donated gift cards and from Alhambra partners. CSW Jennifer Sluter at Granada East, who's been participating with some of us leaders in a professional learning to support absenteeism across Alhambra School District, and we saw the fruits of their labor over there at Granada West, with some of the highest growth or improvements in absenteeism. And again, and then CSW's Gia and Carmen at Sevilla West, who are using data to determine best settings to support students. And so again, our CSWs across the district are supporting our students in multiple ways, and we're very thankful and proud of their work. Thinking back to what Ms. Perry shared regarding the work that we're doing as a district. So again, our commitment to taking care of everyone. Ms. Perry and I were talking earlier about, I know everyone's been working hard. I think about even just my conversations with Mr. Coffinger as they were working with our business team to develop our updated regulation that we informed you of today that'll benefit our 9-month, 10-month, and 10.5-month employees. So again, all that extra work that we're doing to make sure we're taking care of our employees, and one of the benefits is that we're seeing some of the best retention that we've had with, if you take a look at our classified postings And the few positions that we have available to people to apply to right now, it's the lowest amount of positions available that we've seen since 2013. So again, our commitment to take care of our team and the hard work is paying off as we continue to retain and our employees, our valued employees. And so again, thank you to everyone for all your hard work, and happy holidays to everyone, and may you all have a wonderful evening. Thank you all.
Thank you. Anybody have any last words? Happy holidays. We have next meeting the next meeting of the governing board is going to be on January 25th, 2024, and it will be the next regular meeting. There's a calendar of events listed on your agenda. Take note of the fact that winter break begins December 22nd, and that the school comes back on January 8th, and that is followed by the very next week having the MLK holiday. If there's nothing else to discuss, I'll take a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are done.